Hello, welcome back. I'm Nicole, and this week we will be learning yoga poses called chest openers or heart openers. But first, we'll begin the same way we always do with a 5-minute sit. So settle in, find your blocks or your bolster, your meditation cushion, or even just a seat upright on the edge of a chair would work. You don't even have to be on the floor. If getting on the floor and up and down is hard for you right now, you can sit in a chair with the sit bones rooted on the edge of the chair, just like I am here on my meditation cushion. You can find the legs in a cross-legged position here. And I wanted to offer two different options for the hands this week for our 5-minute sit. So palms facing down, grounded into the thighs, pressed in here for a more grounding sensation, a more supportive sensation, or your palms could be facing up. This is more light, more airy. This might feel more open or more exposed. This means maybe you're also open to receiving and giving energy. So whichever feels best for you, palms facing down on the thighs or palms facing up on the thighs. I'm getting our clock set up perfect. We're right on time. Find that comfortable seat and begin to pull your crown lightly towards the ceiling above you. So for me, it just feels like I'm sitting a bit taller without arching my back or changing too much of anything. I'm just lightly pulling upwards from the skull. We call that the crown. We'll take 3 collective inhales and exhales here to start breathing together to settle in. And then we'll focus on our breath for our 5-minute sit. Take one big inhale here. Exhale, sigh it out to release. Another inhale. And exhale. Yeah, my neck popped. Maybe you pop the neck. Maybe you let it all go. Final collective inhale and exhale to settle into our space. Big inhale here. Exhale, sigh it all out. Come back to that comfortable seat and find your breath here. Perhaps your eyes are closed all the way, or they could be heavy gaze, gazing towards the earth in front of you, almost like curtains on your day. My eyes are closed all the way today, and sometimes it's easier to close your eyes whenever you're by yourself or in a safe space. So if you're not in a place where you feel like you can close down your eyes, that's all right. Just find something you can lightly lower the gaze towards and settle in, maybe even up against a wall. Begin to notice your inhales and exhales through the nose. Not changing anything about your breath here, just breathing and flowing exactly as you are right here in this moment. If you still feel tense or unable to sit still or relax, that's okay, that's normal. Try to soften the jaw. Maybe you're clenching the jaw. Soften the tongue from the top of the palate. So just allow your whole mouth and tongue to be heavy here, not tight and constricted. Maybe you notice there's a little space to be had in your shoulders and arms. Maybe that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. Maybe you begin to focus on your inhales and exhales in the belly space. Breathing in to expand in the belly, and breathing out to soften the belly. Nice job, y'all. We're almost there, halfway there. Maybe it's hard to relax because there's sounds around you. Try to acknowledge those sounds and come back to the breath and come back to the present moment, knowing that this is going to be over soon. This is so short and fleeting. I wish there wasn't a dog barking or a plane flying overhead or whatever it is that you hear, but it'll be over soon. And I can aspire that the next time I sit down on my cushion, I hope it will be peacefully quiet the whole time. Yoga is about being flexible internally, more so than externally. We're almost there. One more minute here. Beginning to bring your awareness back to your body. Maybe you tap the fingers on the thighs, roll out the wrists, the ankles. If you can, if you're seated that way, twist it out, back to the space. Honestly, excuse me. See, honestly, I think I have yet to have an experience where just a 5 minutes doesn't make me feel at least 10% better. So my teacher and friend Alicia, AO, Daily Business, and Pivot Partners, she would totally agree. The 5-minute sit is a part of your ritual in your pivot to a better and healthier life would be beneficial and doesn't cost that much investment. But anyway, so this week, we are going to be learning some chest openers and heart opener yoga poses. So we've learned all sorts of different types of yoga poses, standing strength, balance, the warrior series, sun salutations, all the different variations. So this week is pretty fun because these poses are actually less about doing these big performative poses like my challenges with balancing and standing strength sometimes. These poses are chest openers, they're heart openers. So for me, it like really gets more into like my heart space, my spiritual place, my softer side, because these poses, there is a couple challenging ones, but because overall, to open our heart and to open our chest, that's asking a lot. It's vulnerable. It's putting yourself out there. Maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe you're not, you feel not great. That's okay. So these type of poses, the reason they're at the end of the class, we build up to this. So if at any moment in time something just doesn't feel right to you, or you feel too exposed or lightheaded, or like something's not right, then please do not proceed with that pose and just try the next one or a modified version. But either way, I mean, everything is safe here that we're going to learn and demonstrate today, but I do want to acknowledge that there can be considerations that one might feel in some of these poses because our chest will be very exposed, or maybe even our throat. I mean, just as animals in this world, we don't really, want our neck and throat totally exposed because we could die that way, unfortunately. Or if somebody was like in dogs, right? Dogs can fight and they could bite right there. So they also probably don't really want their neck exposed when they're in those positions. I say probably, I don't know, but I do love dogs. So there's that. All right. So yeah, that's a consideration. So please just know that I acknowledge you where you are in your path and journey. And if you don't like a couple of these poses, that's cool. I'm not offended. Or if something doesn't feel right, that's all right. You can stop there and move on to the next pose. Okay, I just want to remind you of your autonomy and your strength for showing up to your mat and even trying these new things. So you have free reign to make that call, and I trust you to make that call for you. But for now, I'll just demonstrate everything and talk you through the alignment and modifications, and just like we normally do when we learn our yoga poses. All right, so I'm going to move my cushion out of the way. Some of these poses we might have already seen before, or we might have already learned, like coming to the hands and the knees, fingertips spread wide here, into our tabletop, our cat-cow. So cat-cow is a heart opener and a chest opener because we're pulling those shoulder blades back. So if we're not ready to be on hands and knees in our heart openers, which by now in the course maybe we are, but if not, this is also an acceptable cat-cow. So here's that. And you've already been warming up to a bit of the heart openers by doing the cat-cows, by warming up in our yoga practices, so that's great. You're off to a good start. So cat-cow. Next we have our baby cobra. Been there before. Feet untucked, palms underneath the rib cage, elbow pull back, heart lifts, back's engaged, belly's engaged, maybe glutes are too, elbows pull in, baby cobra. Here's cobra, now more so pressing into the thighs and glutes. And then upward facing dog, thighs and knees elevated, hands underneath the shoulders, upward facing dog. Okay. Next we have Sphinx. We've been in Sphinx before, coming down to the belly. Elbows come underneath the shoulders. I'm gonna get up on my mat so I can be a little more, okay, my feet were hanging off. And I'm short, so I can only imagine some of you, like some of my tall students, I'm like, how do y'all fit on the mat? And if I'm not fitting, I mean, anyway. Okay, elbows stacked under shoulders, palms spread wide. I want you to pull those collarbones back, press into the mat here, lightly soften through the glutes and upper back. Heart and collarbone is open. This is chest opener, Sphinx. We know this one too. All right, another one kind of in the same realm. So we can consider toes together, knees wide, hips to the heels. Palms walk out, forehead rest down, extended child's pose. This can be considered a chest opener and a heart opener. It's a little bit more protected of that space, so that's a great consideration for individuals, but just depends on what you're looking for. So that was extended child's pose. Let's talk about puppy pose. One of my poses that I used to have a lot of challenges with beginning in my practice. I just couldn't really get secure in it, and I think it was core strength. I think it was just like body awareness. But basically for puppy pose, knees stacked under hips. We're right there. And then I want you to keep those hips stacked over the knees. We walk the palms out and then melt the chest towards the mat. And see, I'm not trying to dump into the back. You're not supposed to dump all the way. You're supposed to keep the belly and core lightly engaged for puppy pose. I think because it's a little bit hard and challenging, and you have to engage the core. And early in my yoga practice, I just wanted to like feel good and roll around. So puppy pose was always really hard for me. Okay. Locust pose, we've been there. Arms extended down back. Palms can be facing up. Feet together for more of a challenge. Locust pose. There's also, this is called bow. Whee! Bow pose. Okay. That one's pretty challenging. Then we have a couple on the back here. We have bridge. So feet stacked under knees. So heels stacked under knees. Shoulder blades pulled down and back. Palms are pressed into the mat. And I'm trying to be just like long and supported here. All one unit. Bridge. We squeeze the glutes. Lift the hips up towards the ceiling. And then breathe here. And here, to make this more of a chest and heart opener, you can even nestle your shoulders and triceps even a little bit further underneath the body. You can see it props me up a bit more. So that's bridge pose. Then we have camel and fish. So these two are two of the poses that I was talking about with considerations for feeling exposed. So first, for fish pose, I'm going to use blocks because you do need to be elevated on something. You can use a rolled up blanket or a towel, but fish pose, actually I only need one block. So for fish pose, we're going to be lying on this block, and the block is going to be placed basically at the top of my spine to where my head, see how my head just like, okay, so this is my head in line. It doesn't have any support. This is my head hanging off. Head in line, no support, head off. So you can see I do have a bit of the neck exposed. Supported fish pose, this is supported fish pose. I'm here, my collarbones are spread wide, palms are facing out. And then I'm just trying to let those collarbones spread and open. Supported fish pose. So it does feel, you can feel the throat and collar just a little bit stretched out. So supported fish pose. There's different levels of this. You can take it, high up. And then this is pretty, this is going to be pretty extreme. Yeah. So like this is a pretty extreme version, but this is your yoga practice. I encourage you to find the fish pose that feels good. You can really see how my back is off the earth here. And then my collarbones are spread wide. It's a bit of an inversion too with the head this far over. So this is supported fish. Ooh, my upper back popped. Okay, next we have camel. For camel, the knees are stacked underneath the hips. I'm going to bring these blocks back here because we can use them in assist. So for camel, knees are stacked under hips. I just want you to lightly pull the belly towards the spine. So we're not like leaning too far. I'm not like arching. I'm also not arching this way. I'm trying to keep everything generally stacked, okay? So to start for this, we'll take the palms, place them on the lower back here, and pull the elbows together. My collarbones are spread wide. So this is like level 1. You could totally start here. Level 2 would be starting to lean back. Level 3, maybe you reach down for the heels and ankles. Yeah, I don't need the blocks today. So that's camel pose. Here's how we could use the blocks. We can bring the blocks in here. I can take those blocks back. I can use them to help support me. And I can just press like this. Like this is a very supportive way to experience camel without having to do a bunch of the work. And then let your head hang. Don't hold it like I'm holding mine. But I'm trying to talk to y'all and do these poses. But head hangs. And precautions with that pose and fish pose for anyone who has experienced a traumatic brain injury or TBI, because having the head back and the blood flowing that way can cause a bit of lightheadedness and fatigue, so please be careful if you have a TBI performing fish pose and camel pose. All right, and then also in this one too, wild thing. So sometimes in a class, which I hope maybe you'll see it in my next in-person class soon, we can invite in a wild thing, which is pretty playful. It's fun. It gets us off our mats. So to go into wild thing, which is also chest and heart opener, we'll come into our downward facing dog. I'm going to pedal it out here real quick. Lean into one side or the other. My hamstrings are a bit tight, so I'm trying to warm up. All right, so for wild thing, we're going to take it into a three-legged dog. And then I want you to flip the dog, send it up and over. Opposite hand reaches the dog. Yeah. So this is wild thing. Woo! To get out of it, just come back over. Come back down. And then we can come back up. I'll guide you through it like the full way. That was how it looked. So maybe you can try it with me this round. So meet me in a downward facing dog. Palm spread wide here, downward facing dog. Right foot extends high to the sky. Bend and open that knee. Let's get a couple knee circles. Send that leg back out. Flip the dog, wild thing. That right foot comes down off your mat. Right hand extends. Chest is open. So much you can do here. Hi. Coming back to center. Foot comes down. Downward facing dog. That's our wild thing. So, and then dancer. Okay, so wild thing also TBI trauma considerations, please. So for dancer, this is more of a balance and heart opener. You're gonna take your foot into your hand. Once you get that so left foot, left hand, right hand is there, and then you kick into that leg, hand comes forward, or up. That's dancer. You can see that the chest is really opening. Big stretch. Let's try it on the other side. It's okay if one side is different than the other. We'll see. So left foot is rooted. Right foot back. Right hand and right foot. Kick it up. Dancer. Nice job. Let me know what you think for these chest and heart openers yoga workout. Thanks, y'all.